7 minutes. That's how long my heart wasn't beating. That's how long I had no pulse, no breath, no brain activity. 7 minutes where, by every medical definition known to science, I was dead. But here's the thing that no one tells you, and the thing that changed everything for me forever. I was never more alive than in those 7 minutes. My name is Daniel. I'm 43 years old. I'm not a religious man. I was never someone who believed in the afterlife, in angels, in anything beyond what I could see and touch. I was an engineer, a man of logic, a man of facts. And then, on a Tuesday morning in March, my heart decided to stop, and everything I thought it knew stopped with it. What I'm about to tell you isn't a dream, it isn't a hallucination, and it isn't a story I invented to get views on the internet. It is the most real experience of my entire life. More real than this moment, more real than the chair you're sitting in right now. And by the end of this video, I think it might erase your fear of dying too. Before I take you into what happened on that morning, I want you to understand something. Every year, approximately 9 million people around the world report near-death experiences. 9 million. That's more than the population of New York City. These are men and women from every country, every culture, every religion, and even those with no religion at all, who come back from the edge of death, describing something remarkably similar. A tunnel of light, a feeling of absolute peace, encounters with deceased loved ones, a life review that plays out in vivid emotional detail, a moment of choice, stay or return. Scientists call it a near-death experience, or NDE. Some say it's the brain misfiring as it shuts down. Others, including a growing number of researchers at Harvard, the University of Virginia, and the Netherlands, say the evidence points to something far more extraordinary. I'm not here to convince you of anything. I'm here to tell you what happened to me, what I saw, what I felt, what I heard, and what it did to a man who, just hours before, would have laughed at anyone who told him the soul was real. So stay with me, because this story doesn't just change the person who lived it, it has the power to change you too. It was a Tuesday, March 14th. I remember that detail because it was exactly 1 week before my daughter's birthday. I had been stressed for months. A project at work, financial pressure, the kind of slow-burning tension that you stop noticing because it becomes the background noise of your life. I woke up at 6:47 a.m. I remember looking at my phone. I remember thinking I needed to send an email before 8. I walked to the kitchen. I poured my coffee and then, nothing. My wife found me on the floor 2 minutes later. She told me afterward that I was grey. Not pale, grey, like the colour had simply left me. She called 911 immediately. The paramedics arrived in 4 minutes. By that point, I had been without a heartbeat for approximately 3 minutes. They worked on me for 7 minutes total before my heart restarted. 7 minutes of CPR, defibrillation, and everything else they do when the person on the floor isn't technically a person anymore, just a body. Now here is where I need you to really listen, because what I'm about to describe is not what I expected. It wasn't a tunnel right away. It wasn't angels. It wasn't even peace. Not at first. The first thing I experienced was separation. I became aware that I was above my own body. I could see myself on the kitchen floor. I could see me wife on the phone, her hand shaking. I could see the mug of coffee still sitting on the counter, the steam rising from it. Completely mundane, completely ordinary. And I felt absolutely nothing about it. No panic, no urgency. It was as if someone had turned off the part of me that was afraid, the part of me that worried, the part of me that cared about the email I was supposed to send at 8 a.m. I simply watched, curious, calm, free. Then the room began to fade, not suddenly, slowly, like someone dimming the lights at the end of a show. and in its place came something I have absolutely no words for in the English language, or any language, I imagine. Light, but not light the way we understand it. Not sunlight, not lamplight, not any light that comes from a source. This light came from everywhere and nowhere. It moved, it breathed. It had, and I know this sounds impossible, it had a personality. It knew me, not just my name, not just my face. It knew every version of me that had ever existed. The 7-year-old who cried because he lost his dog. The 22-year-old who broke someone's heart. The father who worked too many nights and missed too many dinners. It knew all of it, and it didn't judge any of it. If I had to put a single word to what that light felt like, it would be this: home. Then came the life review, and I need to be careful here, because this is the part that is hardest to explain and easiest to dismiss. So I'll just tell you what happened. In what felt like both an instant and an eternity, I experienced every significant moment of my life, but not from my own perspective. I felt it from the perspective of everyone I had ever affected. I felt my daughter's joy the Christmas morning. I surprised her with the bicycle she'd asked for. I actually felt it. Her excitement, her disbelief, her love for me in that moment. And I felt like my father's loneliness the Thanksgiving. I didn't come home because I was too busy. There was no punishment. There was no voice telling me I was a bad person. There was only truth. Pure, unfiltered, undeniable truth about the impact of every choice I had ever made. And the most overwhelming revelation of all: the moments that mattered most had almost nothing to do with my career, my achievements, or my bank account. The moments that radiated the most light, the most meaning, were the small ones. The hug I gave a friend who was falling apart. The time I stopped to help a stranger with a flat tire. The evening I put down my phone and just listened to my wife talk about her day. Love, that's what it all came down to. Not productivity, not success. Love. At some point during the life review, I became aware of a presence beside me. I turned, if turning is even the right word for something that happens without a body, and I saw my grandfather. He died in 1998. I was 14. I hadn't thought about him in years. Not deeply, not really, and yet there he was. Not old the way I remembered him at the end. Young, healthy. His eyes the exact shade of brown I'd forgotten. He didn't speak with words. He communicated in a way I can only describe as direct knowing, as if his thoughts simply became mine. And what he told me was this: you are not finished. There is still something you are meant to give. And then he smiled. The kind of smile that contains an entire conversation. And I understood, in that moment, that death was not an ending. It was at worst a transition. At best a homecoming. And then, it ended. I don't know if I chose to return or if I was returned. All I know is that there was a moment where the light began to pull back, like a tide going out, and I felt the weight of a body again. Heavy, dense, painful in a way I had completely forgotten. I woke up on a hospital gurney. My wife was holding my hand. She was crying. The paramedic beside her looked exhausted in the way that people look when they've just done something that mattered. And my first thought, I want you to hear this clearly, my very first thought was not relief. It wasn't gratitude. It wasn't even love for my wife, though that came a second later. My first thought was, I want to go back. Not because this life isn't worth living, but because what I had just experienced was so overwhelmingly, indescribably beautiful, that this world, with all its traffic and taxes and emails and arguments, felt suddenly small in comparison. It took me weeks to fully come back. Not physically, I was discharged in 3 days, but emotionally. Spiritually, I was straddling two worlds. Part of me was here, part of me was still in that light. And in those weeks, one thought kept returning to me, the thought that has since become the foundation of everything I do, everything I believe, everything I am. Fear of death is the most expensive fear we carry, because it costs us the very life we're afraid to lose. I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'm not here to convert you to any religion or philosophy. I don't represent any church, any movement, any agenda. I'm just a man who died on his kitchen floor on a Tuesday morning. A man who came back different, and a man who feels every single day an obligation to share what he found on the other side. Because here is what I know, not what I believe. What I know, after 7 minutes beyond the boundary of life. You are more than your body. You are more than your job, your worries, your mistakes. The love you give in this life is the only thing that truly follows you. And whatever comes after this, it is not something to be afraid of. My grandfather was right. I wasn't finished, and neither are you. So whatever it is you've been putting off, the apology, the conversation, the dream you shelved, because it felt too big, don't wait for a Tuesday morning on a kitchen floor to remind you that you're running out of time. Live like you've already been to the other side, because now, in a way, you have. If this story moved you, if even a part of you felt something shift, I want to hear about it. Leave a comment below. Tell me, what is the one thing you would do differently if you knew, without any doubt, that death was not the end? And if you know someone who is afraid of dying, a parent, a friend, someone going through something hard, share this video with them, because sometimes the most powerful thing we can do for someone we love is give them a reason not to be afraid. Subscribe to NDE Revealed. Every week we bring you stories from the edge of existence, stories that challenge what you think you know about life, death, and everything in between. I'll see you in the next one, and until then, choose love every single time.